Greetings, YouTube. I apologize if I seem a little low energy today. I had a very stressful day yesterday. There'll be a video coming up in the near future explaining why. One of my subscribers, Angel Tarragon, sent me a link to an article concerning the Mormon Church and their stance on same-sex marriage, which, of course, is that marriage is only valid if it is between participants who are of opposite sex. So, one man, one woman, that kind of thing. Of course, there are Mormons that have more than one woman in a marriage, but they like to downplay that publicly. You know, that's like the elephant in the room that the Mormons don't want to talk about. Of course, you don't have one woman, multiple men. No, that's not allowed. It's always one man and multiple women. And yes, the term Jesus Christ is actually in the name of the Mormon faith. Please remember that. The only takeaway from this particular article, and I will link to it, that I really thought was pertinent, to at least to me, was that there were people in the community attending this meeting that disagreed. That there were actual Mormons that were willing to publicly state they did not agree with discriminating against same-sex couples. And that right there, to my mind, is amazing. It's an indication that there is a sea change in the American political landscape that shows, and this still shows just how far it's come. I would imagine that a higher percentage of Mormons in the 30 and under crowd support same-sex marriage than those in the 30 and above crowd. And those 30 and above people will eventually die. And the 30 and under crowd will eventually be the leadership of the church. And I'm foreseeing a point in the future that the church changes its stance officially on same-sex marriage, the way they officially changed their stance on including black people. Because up until the 1970s, you couldn't be a member of the Mormon church and be black. They had inherently racist doctrine, which they then changed miraculously. You know, religions can do that sometimes. It's a miracle. But the rest of the article is just depressing. You can read it if you want. At least the little ray of hope that there were some that disagreed did put a smile on my face. But I'm using this as a springboard for a bigger issue to my mind. And that issue is social conservatism. Now, social conservatism, to my mind, is one of the most detrimental and damaging positions to take in the world. That it causes more pain and suffering and misery than any other form of action taken by humans. Because it is social conservatism that fuels racism, that fuels misogyny, homophobia, transphobia. It refuels every form of bigotry you can imagine is fueled by social conservatism. And in the world today, the vast majority of social conservatism is backed by some form of organized religion. In the United States, that's Christianity. In Israel, it's the Jewish faith. In many countries, it's Islam. In some places, it's Hindu or Sikh or Buddhism. There are forms of social conservatism for all the different religions in the theistic spectrum. But the social conservatism itself is the problem. Now, I've been stated many times before that I am opposed to organized religion, and this is the reason I am opposed to organized religion. Social conservatism. If organized religion had nothing to do with social conservatism, if organized religion was a truly open, loving, and accepting structure that did not discriminate against anyone for anything that was legal, and did not back laws to make things that are non-criminal illegal, well, then I'd be okay with organized religion. But they don't. They back things from the absurdity of how long skirts should be, or whether people should have little hats on their head all the time, or wear scarves, or cover their faces, to things such as, like, we have to cut off their clitorises with a piece of broken glass, to we have to burn them at the stake. We have to drive them from our country. We have to jail people for being born a different sexual orientation than the majority. That we have to beat and kill people if their gender identity doesn't make us, the socially conservative theists, comfortable. Social conservatism is the problem. Of course, all of it is based on fear. All of it. Fear of the strange. Fear of the social conservatives' own feelings about something. Fear that they will be judged because of their feelings about something. It's all based on fear. Social conservatism is a disease, and fear is the cells of that disease. It's a cancer. Now, I actually had someone on my one of my comments once tell me that they opposed same-sex marriage based on the premise that it was not in the U.S. Constitution. They are a strict constitutionalist. And because it was not in the original documents, they opposed it, wanted nothing to do with it, and felt that gay people should have no right to marry other gay people. I've also had people tell me, well, gay people can marry anyone they want to as long as it's a person of the opposite sex. That's not a right. You can't marry the person you want to. You can't marry the person you love. That's not a right. And marriage is a human right. And it has been declared so by both the UN and the US. But social conservatism is far broader than same-sex marriage. It's far more broader than these Mormons discussing it. It touches every aspect of our lives. The music we listen to, the books we read, the films we watch, the television shows we watch, the ideas we publicly discuss. Social conservatism can poison everything. Social conservatism is the problem. Whereas we need liberal, progressive social policies. We need to accept people for what they are. And say, here's a list of things you can't do. People must have consent. Legal consent. You can't steal from someone else. You can't murder someone else. But the list of things you can't do isn't that long. And then you say, anything else? Have at it, Haas. Whereas social conservatism says, here is a list. It is 1 billion items long. And we make up new ones at will. And here's a tiny little list of things that you can do, but you better do them right. And that's the difference between a socially conservative and a socially progressive worldview. And it is why I am a civil libertarian, the only kind of libertarian I will ever be, and not a socially conservative person. I encountered someone recently discussing games. Someone that felt that they had been involved in socially progressive positions for their entire lives. They said, I can remember when segregation was this, and he talked about segregation when he was younger. And yet today, because he is not comfortable using certain terms for trans people, and he refuses to use these terms, that he refuses to use the terms that trans people want to be used for them, because he's not comfortable with those terms, because those terms may not be in the dictionary. He actually said this, that if a term isn't in the dictionary, he doesn't want to use it, because that's not how dictionaries work. It's the other way around. We invent terms that end up in the dictionary. There is no official council of language. It doesn't work that way. But this person that thought of themselves as being socially progressive was being socially conservative and completely blind to this fact. And when I pointed it out, he told me I was lying about him and put me on his kill file, which he's welcome to do, because there is no ignorance like willful ignorance, and that's what he was being. He didn't want to see that in his mind, while he thought he was socially progressive, he was in fact being socially conservative, telling other people what terms should be used to refer to them. I had a woman recently tell me a man has a penis and a woman has a vagina, which is a very unusual thing. I don't think I've ever encountered a woman who was transphobic. It was shocking. Depressing, but shocking. And I will have no truck with transphobes on my channel, or any kind of other bigots. If you push your agenda, you're going away. This is not a platform for hateful propaganda. So in conclusion, social conservatism is the scourge of our modern age. But people are noticing it now. People are becoming more and more aware of it, which is why I think so many social conservatives are getting so radical, why they're getting so desperate. Because as more and more people realize the sickness that is the socially conservative worldview, they're doing something about it. And that terrifies social conservatives. It terrifies them. Because it means their fears will be exposed. It means they will have to face their fears. They will have to face the thing inside them that they have so been desperately trying to hide. That they have to face the fact that their faith is telling them to be bigots and to be prejudiced and discriminatory. They don't want to face that. Boy, do they not want to face that. Facing our own faults is painful. I know. But we have to do it to grow. And people don't like growth. Anybody. It's tough. But it's really rewarding. The growing pains aren't much fun, but boy, is the other side good. So, cast off your shackles of social conservatism, people. Become socially progressive. Embrace diversity. Embrace the full range and rainbow of what we can be as people. It's way better than the other side.